Thank you so much for attending my presentation about Wailord, Pokemon's biggest crash out, and first let's talk about its traits. Wailord is a very interesting Pokemon, having a giant HP stat and not that much else. 170 is legitimately huge and at the very least partially negates those worst defenses of just 45. It's also slow, and while attacking stats at 90 aren't necessarily bad, I'd really like something more. Thankfully, the mono water typing does help. It only has two weaknesses and gains valuable resistances to fire, water, ice, and steel. All of this actually kinda looks like a Pokemon we talked about recently, Guzzlord. The two have remarkably similar stat lines, flawed but still good typings, and big mouths, but Wailord was introduced much sooner. Was it able to be strong in weaker formats? The answer is a resounding yes. Wailord in Gen 3 is a legitimate monster, at least down in the third tier NU. In a tier where the power level dips to this extent, the whale becomes very difficult to deal with on both sides. Offensively, 90 isn't bad when mons like Haunter, Flareon, and Chimecho are top threats, especially since it has access to the powerful stab Hydro Pump. Plus, you get good coverage. Grass types fold to Ice Beam, and even opposing waters don't like handling hidden power Electric. Even when it's on its last legs, or I guess fins, Wailord has self-destruct to deal a bunch of damage on the way out. Hell Curse was another choice, boosting attack and defense for potentially terrifying sweeps. Defensively, as I mentioned earlier, Mono Water is nice, and with an HP stat that monstrous, taking it down can be tough. You don't get recovery aside from rest, but honestly that's all you need. When paired with Sleep Talk, you're even exerting pressure against Pokemon that can threaten it. All around insane, honorable, and one of the best Pokemon in Gen 3 never used. Gen 4 is where things started to change a bit, largely because of two items, Choice Specs and Choice Scarf. Each of these synergized very well with Water Spout and moved its scales and power with the amount of HP you have left, peaking at 150. Wailord did have this move in Gen 3 and could try to make use of it in OU, but it was tough. Neither the speed or power was there, but Gen 4's introduction of those items coupled with power creep in lower tiers made these builds its best bet. With the Choice Scarf, it was one of the fastest Pokemon in the game before modifiers and could throw out with powerful attacks before the opponent could chip it down. Choice Specs was another option, sacrificing speed for one of the most powerful buttons in the game. Basically, the only Pokemon that could handle these attacks were Blissey and Bulky Resists. Just being a water, grass, or dragon type wasn't enough, but it had a lot of problems. Spec sets are slow, and while Scarf negates this, Water Spout doesn't have as much long-term value. Wailord gets so much worse after taking an attack to the point where it's not super worth it. It would continue doing this throughout Gens 4 and 5, but it was notably worse. It was poor in NU during DPP and dropped to PU in Black and White, made even worse by the addition of another tier in the middle of the second and third. The power took a huge leap, and Wailord's sheer strength wasn't near as special anymore. Not terrible, of course, but not amazing. But in Gen 6, things went downhill. With its place as a top threat gone, it turned to wall breaking. With its place as a wall breaker gone, what could it do? Wailord went towards a legitimately degenerate stall set, using its pressure ability to double the PP loss from the opponent. When paired with Block, preventing switches, and Aqua Ring healing, it could stay alive while draining the life out of the opponent. You even had Noble Roar, making foes weaker and essentially guaranteeing you live forever. However, these builds just suck. Pivot moves beat it, strong attackers beat it, setup sweepers beat it, the list goes on. Wailord has too much counterplay to work, plus it's just really depressing. And I want to clarify, I generally like more annoying strategies. I used Clodsire Stall in VGC for a literal year. I play a shield camping Bowser and a down smash spamming Peach in Melee. I use DK, Rob, Game & Watch, and Kazuya in Smash Ultimate, but this is just too much. With all of its niches completely exhausted, Wailord fell to a role that's deemed frustrating by everyone, a sad fate for an honestly adorable Pokemon. In conclusion, Wailord's fall from grace is wild. From a solid spot as a consistent threat to a mediocre wall breaker to a legitimately bad PP stalling mon, it's been through a lot. The next time you see a Wailord plush or something, give it a hug. It needs it. Thank you so much for watching.